Shalom, shalom. I want to begin a lesson off by giving all praise, honor, and glory to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah Kodash. Double blessing and honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who taught me this truth through the spirit and the power of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. Back here with another lesson through the spirit. Just want to come at y'all with something quick, a little willing, edifying to those out there listening and watching. I'm going to be playing a video going over current events and things of that nature. So I'm going to go ahead and play that for y'all. It's protected under the Fair Use Act, the Copyright Act of 1976, where allowance is made for fair use. And this is for educational edification purposes only, so I'm not making any money off this video. This video is not monetized. So I'm going to go ahead and play that video for y'all. A little willing to listen, be edifying.
Correspondent Kayla Gaskins in Washington. In the wake of President Trump's comments that the United States will be ramping up nuclear weapons testing, Russia is now drawing up its own plans for nuclear tests.
International discussions around testing nuclear weapons sharply escalating. On Wednesday, Russian President Vladimir Putin ordering his government to prepare plans for nuclear weapons testing.
I instruct the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation, Special Services, and relevant civilian agencies to do everything possible to gather additional information on this matter.
Putin's request follows comments from President Trump, who said the United States is ready to resume its own nuclear testing.
Why do we need to test our nuclear weapons?
Well, because you have to see how they work.
In a meeting Wednesday with his Security Council, Putin said Russia has adhered to the international treaty prohibiting nuclear weapons tests, but warned if the U.S. resumed such testing, Russia would be under obligation to take reciprocal measures. Putin's defense minister, meanwhile, sending forces and assets to a test site in northern Russia.
We must accept our nuclear potential in readiness to inflict unacceptable damage on the enemy under any circumstances.
Trump telling 60 Minutes Russia and China are already testing.
We're the only country that doesn't test. Russia's testing nuclear weapons.
My understanding
And China's testing them too, you just don't know about it.
The last time the U.S. detonated a nuclear device as part of a test was in 1992. Russia's last known nuclear explosive test was in 1990, and China's in 1996. Days after Putin said Russia tested a nuclear-powered underwater drone, Russia displayed a new submarine last weekend designed to carry nuclear torpedoes. And early Wednesday, the U.S. successfully launched an unarmed test of the Minuteman III missile, part of the U.S. deterrent system meant to be launched only in response to a nuclear attack.
Amid talk of resuming nuclear weapons tests, President Trump says he's spoken with Putin and China's President Xi about denuclearization. Trump says all three leaders are working on a plan. In Washington, I'm Kayla Gaskins.
So basically the basis of this lesson is the fact that the world is going to be destroyed at the hands of nuclear warfare, man. Nuclear warfare, right? Shalaki, I'm looking for something I cannot find. It's going to be at the hands of nuclear warfare, man. They've already said. They've already said that nuclear weapons are the biggest threat, or the biggest, you know what I'm saying, bad thing that's on the earth, so to speak, right? Hold on. it's one of the biggest things that these countries worry about, man, is nuclear weapons because of the power of them, you know, what they're used for and things of that nature, right? It's a very sensitive topic, so to speak. Very sensitive topic, especially when it comes to the nuclear powers at hand currently. So the fact that, you know what I'm saying, Donald Trump always says this, he always voices his opinion on that. You know what I'm saying? They're always trying to make deals and things of that nature, saying that they're going to be able to stop nuclear warfare, all this other stuff. And that's just not possible. And the reason why is because it's biblical prophecy, meaning that these things were already written down and said that they were going to take place at a later time, which is what we're doing and telling y'all now, is the fact that this place is going to be destroyed by nuclear fire and brimstone, you know what I'm saying, known as the lake of fire in the book of Revelation. Now, I want to get this real quick. It's mentioned in the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 16. Make sure. I'm pretty sure it's in verse 16. All right, the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 16 and verse 8, and it reads, "The mighty Lord said the plagues, and who is he that can drive them away?" Right? The Lord is sending plagues upon the earth. A multitude of plagues are coming upon the earth right now in the days that we're in, which is why I mentioned in my lesson the other day. There's no better time to be alive. We're watching biblical prophecy take and unfold right in front of our eyes. It says, "A fire shall go forth from his wrath, and who is he that may quench it? For he shall cast lightnings, and who shall not fear? He shall thunder, and who shall not be afraid? The Lord shall threaten, and who shall not be utterly beaten to powder at his presence? The earth quaketh, and the foundations thereof. The sea ariseth over waves from the deep, and the waves of it are troubled, and the fishes thereof also before the Lord, and before the glory of his power." You know, there's been a lot of natural disasters and things of that nature going on. And, you know, it started to increase. The damage is starting to get worse and worse. And that's no coincidence, man. The Lord is literally stirring up the elements. The Lord is literally stirring up the elements and making these things come to pass on earth. And that's for good reason, man. This is all coming because of the judgment of the wicked on the earth. Getting down to my point, verse 13. For strong is his right hand that bendeth the bow, his arrows, which those arrows represent ICBMs, right? Intercontinental ballistic missiles. His arrows that he shooteth are sharp, and he shall not miss when they begin to be shot into the ends of the world. Now, matter of fact, Salaki, arrows, you know, it's really representing the plagues that he's shooting at the world, at the ends of the earth. You know, in the same sense though, the arrows like in another part of the Bible that I'm gonna get is talking about those ICBMs because they're precise, they're pinpoint, they have pinpoint accuracy, right? Let me make sure I can find that. quick. You know, man, those arrows that are shot with a mighty archer, you have to realize the Lord is the one who put the spirit on these people on the earth, to build such a device, to build an ICBM. And those ICBMs, if you look into them and you do the research on them, they have pinpoint accuracy. You know what I'm saying? They can hit their targets. They can move around, maneuver, things of that nature. So a lot of that stuff goes back to this, man. Plagues that are being sent upon earth. Behold, the plagues are sent and shall not return again until they come upon the earth. So the Lord is sending these plagues upon the earth. And one of those plagues being the fact that there are nuclear weapons on the earth, and that they will be shot over to Babylon the Great, and it's going to leave this land desolate. It mentions that multiple times in the scriptures, right? It's a lot. Let me think. Really go to Jeremiah 49. Or Ezekiel. This is what I was looking for. The book of Jeremiah, chapter 50 and verse 8, it said, remove out of the midst of Babylon, and Babylon is talking about America, and go forth out of the land of the Chaldeans, and be as the he-goats before the flocks. Here's my point. For lo, I will rise and cause to come against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north country. And in those countries that's in the north, it's talking about, you know what I'm saying, Russia, and the collection of countries that are coming against America even to this day, man. Right? It says, and they shall set themselves in array against her. As you can see, these nations have been coming against America, right? They've been gathering themselves up against her, coming against her in battle. An example of that is like the BRICS nations, right? This collection of nations that are actively seeking to take America's seat of power, so to speak. You know what I'm saying, and remove her because of the things that she's done throughout this country's history. It says, from thence she shall be taken. Their arrows shall be as of a mighty expert man. None shall return in vain. And Chaldea shall be a spoil. All that spoil her shall be satisfied, saith Yahweh. And that's what it's mentioning, what I was just saying. Those arrows, man. It's talking about those ICBMs. This place is going to be destroyed by nuclear hellfire, man. These nations are going to come up against her in battle, right? They're going to come up against her in battle. They're going to be fighting each other. And then they're going to look up and they're going to see the angels. They're going to see the angels appear with Yahweh Shai. And then they're going to try and join in battle against Yahweh Shai. And they're going to utterly lose. And I just made a lesson on that actually not too long ago. Probably about like within this past month or so, I want to say, that I made a lesson concerning that specific prophecy, man. Nonetheless, though, there is no coming to an agreement or escaping that prophecy, man, because it is said to come to pass, and it is indeed gonna lay the land desolate. These people. these nations, and specifically America, they know, the elites for sure, are aware of these biblical prophecies, man. And the fact that that's going to be the final blow to their kingdom, to where it just lays it desolate and makes it a desert, because when those nuclear arrows come over here, man, it's gonna destroy the whole of America. Everything that they've ever built is gonna go to straight rubble, man. The whole history of America is gonna be erased from the face of the earth. And that prophecy is indeed gonna come to pass. That's why, you know what I'm saying, Donald Trump is so adamant, and these other officials are so adamant about stopping that from happening, because they don't want that prophecy to come to pass. But that lake of fire and brimstone, because there's still going to be people that are left over here, that the Lord keeps over here, to endure that, to go through that harsh punishment. Well, it's not really harsh. That's a harsh punishment, but it's a righteous punishment at the end of the day. The Lord isn't in the wrong for punishing the wicked with that type of punishment, is what I'm trying to say. Let me see. The book of Revelation 20 and verse 7. And when 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison. Which is talking about the rebirth, the Renaissance era, when Edomites went back into power. It's not talking about the 1,000 years that we reign in the kingdom of heaven. It's a different 1,000 years. That's why I didn't go up that far, because I don't want to confuse them. But that's talking about the 1,000 years, the 1,000-year period, when they came back into power around the 1400s. It says, and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth. Remember, the Israelites were scattered around the four quarters of the earth, meaning north, east, south, and west. It says, Gog and Magog, which is Russia, to gather them together to battle. The number of whom is as the sand of the sea, which is the Israelites. All right, continuing on. And they went up on the breadth of the earth and encompassed the camp of the saints about the Israelites. And fire came down from the Most High out of heaven and devoured them, right? So again, the nuclear destruction, man. At the end of the day, the Lord, like I said, is going to be controlling this battle. World War III, all of that stuff. It's like World War III, all of that stuff is at the hands of the Lord. So when these countries are coming and girding themselves up for battle, things of that nature, you know what I'm saying, come against each other and whatnot, they're going to be fighting. They're going to look up. They're going to see Yahweh Shah with the collection of angels coming down, right? And they're going to stop what they're doing. They're going to try and fight the angels. And the reason why they're going to do that is because they're going to look at it as an alien, which an alien is just a stranger or a foreigner that's coming into our quote-unquote country or our quote-unquote planet and trying to take over. So they're going to set their differences aside. They're going to come up and fight against the Lord of Heaven's armies, which they're not going to win that battle. And it speaks about that in the book of Revelation as well as in the book of 2nd Ezra. But that's a part of, you know what I'm saying, World War III as well. That's going to be the ending. And you know what I'm saying, Lord willing, we are the hopeful elect. We won't be a part of that or be still on the earth when that destruction occurs, we'll be somewhere up Chariot, Lord willing. You know what I'm saying? Watching the destruction of Babylon the Great and of our wicked enemies. Continuing on, it says, and the devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, right? Because you got to remember, man, these people came, they oppressed us. As it reads in the book of Micah, chapter 2, you know, they oppressed a man in his heritage. They oppressed us, you know, took us out of our heritage, and we forgot who we were. This is the only kingdom that we forgot that who we were, you know what I'm saying? That didn't know that we were the Israelites until, of course, our elder Abba Bivens woke up and had a revelation, okay? And the devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone. And the devil, you know what I'm saying, is Esau, Edom. Where the beast, which is this system, this society, this society that we're in right now, you know what I'm saying, the revived Roman Empire, and the false prophet, which is the Roman Catholic Church, which also had a strong influence on, you know what I'm saying, the widespread and the mass spreading of Christianity and these false religions and false gods and Jesus Christos and all that good stuff. They're gonna get judged as well. And shall be tormented day and night forever and ever. That's why it reads in the scriptures, you know what I'm saying, that the Lord hated Esau, and he's also gonna have war with Esau's illegitimate grandson, which is Amalek, you know what I'm saying, the tiny hat people. I'm not gonna mention their names because, you know, they get real sensitive about people talking about them. Nonetheless, though, jumping down, it says, in death, verse 14, in death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death, which the first death was, was the mass flood that happened on the earth that took place during the day of Noe, of course. And then continuing on, man, it just really talks about how, you know, this place is going to be laid desolate. It's not going to be inhabited anymore. So I'll get some scriptures talking about that. You can even look at this, Jeremiah 50:23. How is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? How is Babylon become a desolation among the nations? You know what I'm saying? Those three chapters, Jeremiah 49, 50, and 51, all talk about the destruction and the downfall of Esau, Edom, in America, man. That's all that talks about. It says, and the land shall tremble in sorrow, for every purpose of the Lord Yahweh shall be performed against Babylon. Right? That's what I'm saying. You cannot stop prophecy. If you go read the book of Amos chapter 9, it clearly tells you that there is no stopping what is inevitable, man. It's impossible. To make the land of Babylon a desolation without an inhabitant. And after Babylon is destroyed, it will be a desolation. It will be a desert, and no one will ever inhabit it again. Right? There isn't going to be any civilization over here, even in the kingdom. So I'm going to close it off there, man. Lord willing, the lesson was edifying those out there listening and watching. Call Allah Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai Bahashim, Rakakash. Double blessing and honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who tell me this truth through the spirit and the power of Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai. And until next time, I say Shalom, Israel. Shalom. And as always, we're one day close to the kingdom, man. Keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing. Shalom.